There is a Jewish historian whose name is Simon Rabidovich. And in his 1986 essay, he named the Jewish people as ever-dying people. Don't worry, he was not an anti-Semite. There was a different idea behind it. You probably heard people saying that there will be at least 3 different opinions between 2 Jewish people. But there is one thing that most of us share: the fear of being the last generation of Jewish people. How do we ensure that being Jewish is relevant? It's very interesting, right? The timing is perfect for this. So, speaking about the last generation of Jewish people, and then there's a rain heard. So how do we ensure that Judaism is relevant? How far do you go to make our religion, and religion in general, modern and attractive? What's the best way to change and adapt to the ever-changing world? For me, there is no question that Judaism must always evolve and change to remain relevant. The key question is not what, but how. How do we do that without too much damage to our core? How fast and radical should this change be? The synagogue is a perfect example. This synagogue, the LGS, is a perfect example of radical changes. 120 years ago, when it was founded, the change was quick and significant. It was both scary and inspiring at the same time. For example, one of our founding members, Lily Montague, was also founding member of the Jewish League of Women Suffrage. She sat on the executive committee and famously led meetings in prayer. Founded on November the 3rd, 1912, the League proclaimed 2 goals: to demand parliamentary suffrage for women and to improve the status of women within Judaism. The suffragist movement in the UK was divided into 2 groups: suffragists and suffragettes. Suffragists were peaceful campaigners who used non-violent methods such as petitions, lobbying, public speaking, and campaign for women's right to vote. Suffragettes, on the other hand, were militant campaigners who used violent and aggressive tactics to achieve their goals. As far as I know, the Jewish League of Women Suffrage was non-militant, accepted both men and women, and achieved its goals in non-violent way. So this week's Torah portion presents 2 cases and 2 approaches to life and change. One is the approach of Pinchas. Here is the name. Hence is the name of this Torah portion, Pinchas. And the other is the daughters of Zelophehad. So in order to understand what Pinchas thought about change, we need to come back to last week's Torah portion. Pinchas, Aaron's grandson, has committed an act of murder. Pinchas kills Zimri and Cosbi. Zimri was an important Israelite who openly brought a Midianite woman, a non-Jewish woman named Cosbi, into his tent. Today, Pinchas, who killed them both, would be called a religious extremist, who did what was right in his eyes without consulting everybody else. By then, a plague has started to spread in the Israelite camp, killing many people, and after this shocking episode, the plague stopped. At the beginning of this week's parasha, Torah seems to declare that Pinchas succeeded, and God rewarded him with Brit Shalom, the covenant of peace. it appears that the text praises Pinchas for this zealotry. According to the Talmud, Rav Nachman says the letter Vav in the word Shalom is broken. In this covenant of peace, that's the Brit Shalom that Pinchas received from God. So according to tradition, this letter is supposed to be written with a break, with a gap. And therefore, the word can be read as though the Vav were missing. By the way, today, all Torah scrolls look like this. Can you see the third letter, Vav? It appears to be broken. It seems that Jewish scribal tradition has kept an important message about Pinchas, zealot and extremist. Can there be a covenant of complete and everlasting peace when such peace is based on murder, religious extremism, zealotry? These questions are not only asked by progressive Jewish people today, but scribes and rabbis throughout the ages had an extensive debate about the presence of the role of zealots in Judaism. Rabbis were deeply uncomfortable with such people. Yes, their motive is pure, but their actions are uncontrollable and dangerous. Although successful and quickly achieved, such peace will always be broken and incomplete. Well, we live in a world that demands change all the time. And I think this is not only about Judaism and Torah portion, it's about us today. How do we achieve any change? Do we need a strong hand, a strong personality who will come and do it quickly? Or we have a different way? So, for example, Rabbi Naftali Tzvi Judah Berlin, author of the Torah commentary Ayemek Davar, suggests that the covenant of peace that Pinchas received was not a reward for this impulsive behavior, but a cure for it. This covenant was meant to calm him down. It is as if God was saying, well, please, thank you so much, but please be more peaceful with your actions. Here is the covenant of peace. Please, be more peaceful. So in the contrast of the story of Pinchas, there is a story of the daughters of Zelophehad, which Rosa read so beautifully and explained and made it relevant for us. So they too saw injustice in the world. They too wanted to fix it, but their means were different. They worked within the system. The collection of rabbinic legends and Torah commentary, Sifrei Bemidbar, has this version of their story. So this is the interpretation of them. When the daughters of Zelophehad heard that the land of Israel was being apportioned or given among the males of the tribes but not females, they consulted together as to how to make their claim. Right? They thought about how to do it. And they said, well, the compassion of God is not like human compassion. Human rulers are more concerned with man than with women. But the one who spoke and brought the world into being, God, is not like that. God shows mercy to every living thing. So what's important here is two things. Not only they believed in their case, they believed in the justice, but they were deeply committed to finding the right way of addressing the issue. So another rabbinic legend said that they spoke to lower ranks first. They achieved leaders of 10s, then 50s, and all of them said, oh, so sorry, this is not our case. Go higher. So they went up and up until their case was presented to Moses. They acted within the system and achieved the change in a truly peaceful way. What was their reward? Simple. The Torah law was written not in Moses' voice, but this law of inheritance has their name now. So what's the difference between these two approaches to life and change? Pinchas' action led to quick and immediate results, whereas it took much longer for Machla, Noah, Nogla, Milka, and Tirza to achieve their goal. Moreover, the daughters' result didn't lead to full equality between men and women. This is what Rosa said to us. It doesn't seem like a good law. Women only inherited if there was no sons. It doesn't seem right. It just led to partial change, small step towards the desired egalitarian world where both men and women could inherit. The law changed only to allow women when there is no son. It was a significant step forward for that time, but not good enough for today. This is what I hear all the time. So you have to look at the historical background. However, modern Torah scholar Jacob Milgram studied ancient inheritance practices from other Middle Eastern countries of that period of time. And he found out that many other nations of that period of time had equal inheritance laws. Egyptian and Sumerian law had equality in inheritance for both men and women 1,000 years before the Torah. In other words, you cannot use the excuse and say that the Israelites didn't allow women to inherit because it was regular practice for everybody else. It was not. In this case, it was the opposite. Many other nations had much more egalitarian approach to inheritance than the Torah law, even in the past. And that's fascinating to hear. We often think that Judaism was at the forefront of all positive changes in the society, and that we were the first to invent human rights. But Milgram proved this theory completely wrong, at least in this case. So in his commentary on this story, Rashi says, this tells us that their eye, the daughter's eye, saw what Moses didn't see. In other words, Zelophehad's daughters had the finer perception of what was just in the law of inheritance that Moses had. There is a famous joke. Two entrepreneurs come to a poor country to explore opportunities to set up business there. And one sends the report to their boss. Oh, this is terrible, he says. I can't sell anything here. You can't sell anything here. Nobody even wears shoes. The other sends a very different report. Oh, this is wonderful. We can sell lots of shoes here. Well, perhaps the general curiosity and the ability to learn from others led the daughters of Zelophehad to understand the Torah law was behind its time. Pinchas only saw threat in mixing with other nations. The daughters of Zelophehad, perhaps, saw a great opportunity to learn from them. Today, we take many things for granted. For example, the right to vote. We assume this is given. Another example is, as you, Rosa, said, your bat mitzvah. The first recorded bat mitzvah in Jewish history occurred in the United States in 1922, when Mordechai Kaplan, the Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan, arranged for his daughter Judith, well, she was a bit younger then, to celebrate becoming a bat mitzvah at the public synagogue ceremony. However, not many people know that usually bat mitzvahs were held on Friday night when the Torah was not read. Or if held on Saturday, like Judith Kaplan's, the bat mitzvah girl would read from the printed Chumash, from the book, but not from the actual scroll. And even today, in many synagogues, when a girl celebrates bat mitzvah, she only gives a talk. And not during the service, but when the service is over. I think it's it's like daughters of Zelophehad. It's like, yes, you're right, but we're doing steps towards you. No, that's not good enough. There should be full equality. Today, we celebrate Bat Mitzvah and take it for granted, which is wonderful. We live in the world, sometimes it seems, we live in the world of Amazon Prime, where everything is expected to be delivered and happen tomorrow. But a swift and rapid change often comes from zealots, and the peace it brings will never be complete. Real change begins with brave pioneers that take time, sometimes years, decades, or centuries to achieve. Let's take a moment and spend it just thinking about appreciation and the sense of gratitude for what we have. Yes, there are many things we should change and improve, but we live in a fantastic world of many achievements and freedoms that our ancestors could not even dream of. And because of that, I think that the liturgical language for doing it is the blessing Shehecheyanu. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehecheyanu v'kiyimanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, who has kept us alive, sustained us, and brought us to this moment. So we do live in a wonderful and great moment. And it is people like you, Rosa, and I mean it, visionary, talented, diverse, determined, who will continue strengthening the improvements of the past, and no doubt build the foundation for many, many other changes for a better, more just and fairer world for many generations after. And I know it is a cliche to say that normally people in certain age, the teenage age, are sometimes grumpy with the world. But maybe this sense of injustice, this sense of unsatisfaction is very helpful. Maybe we need it. And Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will.